Hetalians, so this is going to be the longer version of the explanation I'm making on how to use this Google Sheet for this Hetalia Fancomic master list. If you wish to just watch the shorter version, it should be linked down below this video, but I'll go over it really quick again in a second anyway. And if you're here from the future and just came to find out how to update this Fancomic list, I'll have that all the way at the end of the video, and we'll write the exact timestamp in the description down below. So again, really quick, on the most left are all the titles. Here in the second column are all the links. What's cool about this Google Sheet is that we have some filter features. You go over here down to this tab. You'll see these white boxes at the top where you can search things by ship or character. So for example, if I were to type in Jurita, like so, it'll show me all the links where Jurita is featured. You'll find that there are some where it's only slightly present, so if you want to limit your search results further, you can just add an exclamation point at the front, like so, and you'll get a shorter list. In order to use this feature, you will have to make your own copy, so you go over here to File, then click Make a Copy, and you can keep the name or edit it to whatever you want. And you can also do this with character or some other things. The only other important thing you need to know is that you can't edit this tab directly, or more like you shouldn't, because if you try, you'll find that everything else in the column will disappear. And honestly, it can be pretty annoying. If you use this long enough, you'll see why. But yeah, you can't edit this directly. You'll have to go over to this tab, and you can Command F and search for whatever title you're looking for so that you can edit it however you like. Anyway, this list is mostly sorted by rating. It's all K's personal list, so the rating is based on like their favorites. You'll find that there's some bias. You can see right here that Jurita takes up like almost all of the top ones. So yeah, clearly some bias. By the way, if you're on mobile, this will automatically be on dark mode probably. This was designed for light mode, but I don't think it makes that much of a difference. You can change it to light mode if you like, or keep it dark mode. But just know that all the shadings will be in reverse. So here in the filter tab, it says where cell is white, but if you're on dark mode, it'll show up as black. Anyway, this here in the fourth column is heavy versus light, to separate things that are happy or wholesome versus more serious or dark. All the way on the right are some more columns that also put a scale on how cute something is, painful, or funny. So while you can use the filter features to look for something that is exclusively light, you can also sort here by cute if you want to look for cute content, and you'll find the top rated ones at the top. Or if you really feel in the mood to cry, if you really want to hurt, you can do the same thing for pain, Z to A, and you'll get those most painful ones at the top. Lunatic Blue is really a great read. We both highly recommend that one. You can also sort by funny if you want a good laugh. And also, if you want to avoid things that are painful, maybe you're in a bad mood and just want some happy things, you can also do the opposite and sort here A to Z. And then you can more easily avoid that stuff. Then here how long or short something is. Some of these are just like 1, 2, 3, or 4 pages, and so maybe if you want to avoid those and read things that are actually stories, you can sort it by length. A to Z would put the longest ones at the top, or if you have a short amount of time so you just want to read the short ones, you can sort it Z to A and get the very short ones here. I think in general, the very short ones only take usually like a few seconds to read, and the short ones are generally between 5 to I think 20 or 30 pages. And then medium would be up to 50 pages, And I don't know how fixed these numbers are, but I do know that Romano and the Armada took me like a couple hours to read. I could be exaggerating, I don't remember, but it also depends on how fast you read. So I'm going to skip ahead a bit and speak about the content warning list. So some of these have some very dark subjects, and so if you have certain triggers, you might want to look at the content warning list. Although some of them do contain spoilers, sometimes it'll say spoiler warning but, and that's why we have this cutoff just in case you don't want to spoil yourself. If you want to read the whole thing, you can just click on the cell and it'll show the whole thing at the top. If you don't care about it, then you can just double click on this column and click hide column, and you can also do that with any of the other columns that you don't care about. And if you need to undo that, you can just click on these little arrows up here, expand, and you can also sort the order of these columns. So if this is something that's very important to you, you can put it all the way at the front, and you can customize this sheet however way you like. We do ask also that if any of these are incorrect or if it's missing something that you think is important, do let us know as soon as you can. You can reach us on any of our social media, but we also have a Google form where you can report any issue you have. You can also use it to give us some suggestions, or if you found a really good comic and you want us to add it, you can submit it through there or through our social media. You can also just share your thoughts about your favorites or whatever. We would really like that. Back here to this column lists whether something is ship content or not. So I know some people, they don't care about ships at all. They would just prefer things without romantic content, or that at least aren't really focused on it. So if that's you, you can just double click this and then click sort A to Z, and it'll put all of that at the top. Then we also have this interpretable label, and what that means is basically sometimes it's labeled with a certain ship, but either there's no explicitly romantic content or it's not like the focus of the story. And we have that because, like, for example, all of these lists all different kinds of ships, and that's because if you're looking for a specific kind of ship, especially ships that are less popular, maybe the story isn't about that ship, but it's still somewhat featured, or you could probably interpret it that way. That way, it still shows up for you while you're looking for it. Also, in general, we don't have any pro-ship content, so no incest, no shotokan, whatever. But you will see that we do have some USUK and Spamano. That's only because they're very popular, so Kei tried to be inclusive by adding some that they thought were at least pretty good. And sometimes some of those comics would feature America or Romano as a child, and it'll still be labeled USUK or Spamano. I think if it was explicitly romantic or so on, they didn't include any of those. But if it was little to no explicitly romantic content at all, either it'll be labeled as interpretable or not applicable. And unlike with other dynamics, it won't be labeled as USK or Spamano. Then over here, obviously, are some short descriptions of each of the comics. I don't think there's anything more to say about that. And then over here are the list of characters, the ones with exclamation points. Either they're the main character or they have a significant role. If they don't have an exclamation point, that means they're hardly there. It'll also sometimes say minor role or BG for background, isn't there just a background character? In general, I think they're listed sort of in order of importance, but like in some cases, they sort of share equal importance, so not always. Same thing for ships. And so another thing you can do if you want to look for content that's exclusively something, like if you go over here to filters, you'll see that sometimes the ship or character is listed, but they're not like the focus of the story. So if you're looking for something that's exclusively with that thing as the focus, another thing you can do is also sort these columns A to Z or Z to A. So for example, if you're looking for things where Germany is the main character, you will type here exclamation point Germany. And like, it won't put him at the top, but you can scroll down and it'll at least have all of that condensed together so that it's easier for you to find what you're looking for. By the way, only the character column has two boxes because like sometimes you want to look for something with two characters. Like for example, if you love Japan and China, they're dynamic together. You would type here Japan and China, and you wouldn't be able to search for them in the ship with the ship filter because usually their dynamic is like familial, and so instead you can search for it this way. You can see where they're both main characters, and it still won't always include just their dynamic. Sometimes they're just both main characters but they don't interact, but it helps. And this is the only one with those two boxes because if you click anywhere at the top, you'll find that the coding for this is very complicated and it's very difficult to edit, so for simplicity's sake, only that one has two boxes. Then over here, in the next column, we have groups. So I know that the Nordics have a rather big cult following in the Hetalia fandom. So if you want to look for the Nordics, you would type here Nordics. You can add an exclamation point or whatever, depending on how focused you want it to be. Make sure to delete any other boxes and it'll show you everything where the Nordics are featured. You'll get things like Denor and Sufin included, but again, if you don't care about ship content and just want to see like some happy Nordics together, you can again sort A to Z. Go over here to filters and it'll have that at the top, and you can choose to look through the interpretable content or not. I think also with the Nordics and maybe some other filters, it only has that tag if at least 3 of them are present, so it doesn't include anything where it's just exclusively Sufin or Denor because that's their own thing. So if you want to look at anything with any Nordic at all, you would delete the exclamation point and the S, and it'll show you everything where they appear. Then connecting back to that dynamic thing, if you really love the German brothers, for example, you wouldn't be able to search by ship, even if the original comic was intended as a ship. It just won't be written here, but instead of having to put Germany and Prussia here separately, like with China and Japan, you can just type here German bros and it'll show all the ones where their dynamic is present. Then over here is AU or setting. So if you're like into Cardverse, and want to look for more of that content, you would type here Cardverse and it'll all show up. Some of these settings only appear once, so it's not really that useful, but more here just so you know, because if you're not into Cardverse, for example, or like some of these take place during wartime, and if you want to avoid that, then you have it here so you know and can avoid it, or just like so you can have some extra context to the story. Then over here again, we have the cute, pain, funny ratings as well, and a column for art. These are all case preferences again, so maybe you'll disagree with some of these ratings, and that's fine. And so over here, if you were to sort this by Z to A, you'll get the ones that K felt had the best art. Then over here in this column, it says whether something is in color or not, so I guess they really love things in color. And if you do too, then you can sort it like this. I'll get to the date section in a bit because that's very important. I'll leave that for the end. But anyways, we also have this red column here. So when you make your own copy, you can mark to yourself which ones you've read already, and it should show up in the filters tab automatically. And again, remember that you can't edit this directly. So if you were to try here, it at least won't work. And that's better than it deleting everything, at least. And then here is the date column, and we have this because this is the date that we're originally releasing this master list. We hope to find more and add to it in the future, and we'll probably announce it as a new update. So I'm going to show you now how to update your list, because when you do, You can just as easily make a new copy, but probably you might not want to do that because maybe you marked all the ones that you read, or you made some other edits to other things and you don't want to have to do that all over again. With this, another thing you can do is just sort this Z to A, and it'll have all the newer ones at the top. So imagine that this is all filled out. This way you can just copy and paste these select columns like so, and then you scroll all the way to the bottom of yours. You can paste it anywhere because then you can just sort it later. And you have to do this at the bottom because if you try to paste it onto the top, it'll just overwrite anything that's at the top. And we have it by date instead of just writing old or new, because if we come out with several updates in the future, for example, if it's December and we released updates in August and October, then maybe you have the ones from August, but you don't have the ones from past October. This way, it's easier for you to just copy whatever it is that you're missing. And that's also why we have here on the bottom the date of today. In the future, it'll have the date of when we last updated, so you can automatically see if yours is outdated. By the way, in case if it's important for whatever reason, the current order we have it in is in this order. So you go over here, you sort title by A to Z, and then you go over to vibe and sort by Z to A, and then go over to rating and sort by Z to A again. And this is the way we have it on our list publicly. I hope that's it. Hopefully I didn't miss anything. If I did, I'll have to make a new video, and I'll probably link it down below on this one so that you can find it more easily. If there's anything else that's still confusing to you, or again, if you made some sort of mistake and need help on fixing it, please do reach out to me. You can submit it through the form or reach me by social media, and I'll try my best to help. And that's it. I hope you can enjoy our hard work, and please do let us know your thoughts.